What is up, Duelist? Today is August 12th, and I did something a little different this month. I went to King of Games early on rather than kind of waiting towards the end of the month to record content. The reason being I wanted to kind of get it out of the way when I had a little bit of time. That way I can focus on Master Duel a bit more after. And that's what I want to do, but as I've been doing for the past few months, I want to show off the deck that I used to get King of Games. Again, for the same reason, so I could focus on Master Duel, I didn't want to play like a brand new deck if I didn't have to get to King of Games, so I didn't. I played Trickstar a bit last month, and I didn't want to upload a ton more Trickstar content, because I know I had done quite a bit, and you know, I like to vary it up there, so not a ton more uploads from this deck that you're going to see. However, I do want to show it off and talk through kind of the future of the deck. I do have other decks that I want to show off this month, at least two in mind, and you'll definitely see gameplay from them. They're a lot of fun. But again, wanted to talk through this because after seeing the ban list that came out, and I put out a video to talk about the implications and things like that, I think Trickstars moving forward are probably a tier 1 deck. I think they're already, I mean, I want to say just as good because they're technically tier 2 at this time as tier 1, but like they are a pretty easy king of games. I'll click in. I think the last 10 I played, I think I won. I did get a bad beat losing streak there, but then won the two before. I think like I was between 70 and 80% winning. It wasn't too difficult, and despite you can see like playing against Hugo, playing against Aster Phoenix, a lot of good competition, but this deck is just really solid. And I'll click in and talk about the deck a bit there. Um, so I have done a deck review on it, but I'll talk about it at length again because I think it just deserves it. Now, Candina is really what brings this deck together. Candina allows you to, when summoned, search any of the other Trickstar cards. So we have 3 Candinas, we have 3 Corabanes, we have 1 Licorice just to um, give us a little variety and kind of a backup plan. Can also work nicely for kind of chaining attacks together. 1 Light Stage, and 3 Festivals. So I'll talk about the Trickstar cards first. The other reason I really like this deck is because of a hand trap. So a big thing of that there is with Candina, there's 2 routes that you generally go. It's going to be like a more offensive one, where you can either, if you don't have a Korribane in your hand, then you use Candina to draw into a Korribane. Then when you attack, you have the hand trap of Korribane, you send Korribane to the graveyard, and you double, or you add its original attack to whatever the attack is. So, for example, if you do it with Candina here, it goes from 1800 to 3600, but then it often is used for, let's say, Holly Angel. Holly Angel gets boosted up 100 or 200 points, and then you Korribane, you're looking at 4200 really easily. That's going to destroy like pretty much any monster that's not just juiced up. And with this day's meta, there's really not many monsters over 3000. Even like high 2000s are you know what you're typically going to see. So there's a hand trap there. Now you combine that with White Princess, and especially using again with Trickstar Holly Angel, who is not affected by the hand trap here. So if you're going against like Dingirsu, use a White Princess and then you use a Korribane and you can pretty much one-shot an Orcust monster. Really powerful. But so I've talked about these 2 hand traps. Korribane is a little bit flexible because you can also summon it to the field if you special summon if you only have Trickstar monsters on the field. However, you want to be careful because you can only use each of those 2 abilities, either the hand trap or the special summoning once per turn. You can't stack like 2 Korribanes, discard them both, and gain the original attack twice, like you can do with, kind of like what you can do with the Apprentice Illusion Magician. A little bit of a drawback there, but still incredibly powerful. So that's kind of the more offensive route. Festival is a little bit more of a defensive route. So you play Trickstar Festival first if you have it in your hand. You can use Candina to search it, but if you already have it in your hand, you play this first. You link summon into Holly Angel, then you bring out Candina, for example. When you do that, you're going to gain a little bit of life points. You're going to be able to use Holly Angel Trick, the skill. It's going to be, I think, 2200 life points. If you don't have Holly Angel Trick, you can use 3 effects. It's very similar. Holly Angel Trick is just a tad better because you're going to get more effect damage by like a couple, like hundreds of points in total. Not going to be game changing, but nice to have for sure. But anyway, you bring out Holly Angel Trick. You make sure it's, if you do Candina, it's in that middle square, the one that is being pointed to by Holly Angel Trick square there. And now you have protection. Because your opponent, where's the exact wording here? Trickstar monsters this card points to cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Many people, as you guys probably know, do not read card effects, so they go and attack Candina, thinking they can destroy it, and they're not going to be able to get it off the field because they attack it twice. You might lose a little bit of life points, but generally that's better than it getting destroyed. So you have protection where Candina can't be destroyed, and also, when you use Trickstar Festival, Holly Angel can't get destroyed for one time there. So you have protection on both of them. Even if you end your turn, like your first turn, you play Festival, bring out Holly Angel, then put Candina in the spot that it's getting pointed to, and nothing in your back row, you still have a really good amount of protection. And when that happens, you typically have either Core Bane, White Princess, or both. Hand traps, and again, hand traps are so great here because they typically can't be stopped. Like right now in the meta, Crystal Wing Dragon can stop one of them. It's pretty common that you'll have two, so isn't going to be able to stop both in one turn. But like people can't see it coming. They have to attack, and you can't like go around a hand trap. It's not like you can bring out Nightmare Phoenix and destroy it in the back row or anything like that. And then one more hand trap, we actually have Licorice as well, where there's two really good effects. Or there's one effect that can be used two really good ways, I should say. First off, okay, so the effect is you can reveal this card in your hand, target one Trickstar monster you control, special summon this card, and if you do, return the other monster to your hand. You get that little effect damage each time your opponent, or a card is added to your opponent's hand, inflict 100 damage to them. But really, the quick effect is the one that we like here. So two timings you're going to want to use it. Let's say you have a Candina on the field. We have the protection like we mentioned about Holly Angel before. Your opponent's ending their turn. You don't have another Candina in your hand, but you do have Licorice. So you activate the effect. You send Candina back to your hand at the end of your opponent's turn. And guess what? You can summon Candina again at the beginning of your turn. Use the effect again. Search something out. Rinse and repeat. So that is the first really good effect. I don't think it's worth having more than one of these in your deck. Because it's not that powerful. You'd rather just have Candina herself. But the other thing that can work too is using it for kind of the battle phase. So let's say you have Holly Angel out, you Core Bane something, so you basically double the attack, destroy something, attack directly with Candina, and let's say you get them down to 1,000 life points. You can activate Licorice then, send Candina back to your hand, put Licorice in attack position, and then attack and finish them off. So, ridiculous chaining opportunities. Need I say more? That is the basis of it. Now, the other card that I didn't mention too much about is Trickstar Light Stage. So, really powerful. Two effects. When it's activated, you can pick any Trickstar monster from your deck added to your hand. So, it really helps you get through kind of the full cycle of monsters that I mentioned. But typically, you're going to want to go with Candina. If you already have Candina, maybe you go with Core Bane, vice versa. But really flexible for getting the hand of Trickstar monsters that you want. But the second effect works really nicely as well because let me find the exact wording here. Once per turn, you target one set card in your opponent's spell and trap zone. While this card is active in the field zone, that set card cannot be activated until the end phase, and your opponent must activate it during the end phase or else send it to the graveyard. So you can basically lock down one of your opponent's cards. What you'll do if you draw this card and can, the start of your turn, let's say you go second, your opponent finishes their turn with two cards face down, you play this immediately. You activate the effect where you draw the monster, and then you activate the effect where you pick a card in the back row and lock it down. So if they have like an evac, if they have a crackdown, they can't activate that card on any of your monsters because you have nothing out, and it's going to get locked down, and then at the end of the turn it can be used, but they can't activate it, any other time than that. So it's really powerful. It's not destroying a card, but it does make it useless if it's not the right timing for activation when you target it. Really nice that you can do it once per turn as well, and just puts your opponent in a bad spot. So this deck doesn't have a lot of back row removal for your opponent's cards, but you have protection through Holly Angel slash Trickstar Festival slash Light Stage, so you don't really need it. I do have a Nightmare Phoenix in the extra deck. Um, nice to have, but it's like that goes in any extra deck this day. That don't really need to give explanation. Now, through the non-Trickstar spells and traps, we do have a handful of them that can destroy a lot of cards in the field. And before I just kind of name them, I mean, you can see them up on the screen here, but you have to remember that we have that protection. So if I activate a Dark Hole, or if I activate a Needle Ceiling, my monsters are not going to be affected as long as I have a Trickstar Festival in the graveyard, and then I have Holly Angel pointing to the other monsters there. So I'm going to destroy everything my opponent has, but if I'm using it in the right situation, I'm not going to destroy anything I have. That's really, really nice. I can clear the field off. Like, Needle Ceiling is not going to get activated, or is not going to be too difficult to activate because I'm already going to have probably 2 monsters out. It needs a total of 4. Your opponent's going to get 2 monsters in the field. So, really, really strong card. Anytime you can use Needle Ceiling and not be harming yourself, you're in a good position. So 2 Dark Holes there, 1 Needle Ceiling, 1 Warning Point. Need I say more? You guys know that I love this card. And then we got our limited 3s. We have our Crackdown. We have our IDP. Not really a fan of evac right now with the way the meta is. And with the selection box that came out, I needed to test it out, test out Lost Wind. Liking it so far, maybe a little more than I expected to, especially because of the kind of second part of the effect where you can set the card back in the field and then banish it after using it a second time. I don't like that it doesn't lock them into the card, so you have to make sure you have the right timing for activation. You know, it's not like Warning Point where they can't then special summon into something else. You need to wait to make sure they're at the end of their chain, then activate it to put them in a bad spot. So, pros and cons, like any other card within this game. But, okay, before I finish up, let me just walk through the extra deck. So, as I mentioned, Holly Angel is usually where we're going. We have 2 of them. Now, there are situations where we need to link someone up higher, do a little more effect damage. We have 2 Crimson Hearts. We don't use them too often. It's really kind of a situational thing. The effect is nice to have, but I don't like making my opponent draw more, for obvious reasons. So it's a really kind of a desperate situation. There are times where I'll have an opportunity to link someone up, so I'll go into Foxglove Witch. A decent card, nothing fantastic. It's, you know, you have much better Link 3 monsters in the game, for sure. But if I do go to Link 3, I'm probably going to Link 4 with Bella Madonna, and just putting her in a position where I'm not having any monsters in the zones that she's pointing to. That way, this card is unaffected by other cards' effects in those situations. And then also you can activate once per turn and inflict 100 damage to your opponent for each Trickstar monster in your graveyard with a different name. By the time you're Link summoned up to Link 4, there's probably, you know, 4 or 5, so it's 500 damage per turn, let's say. That adds up quickly. That is not something I'm doing every single duel by any means. I'm not focused on the effect damage of this deck, but, you know, with the right situations call for it, then that's what I'll be going for. But again, not too common. So I think I stressed this a bit in the reviewed video of the ban list, but I think this deck will get to tier 1 next month. I think Speedroid is getting hit, Orcus is getting hit, Odd Eyes is getting hit. This is the other tier 2 deck, and it's not getting touched. So get familiar with it. If you haven't played it, it's pretty simple to put together. This is kind of the guide there. If there's ever interest, I can also break down kind of gameplay that I do with the deck and like very slowly go through a game, talk about what I'm thinking and why I'm making a certain move. So do let me know if there's ever interest in that, because I think it could be helpful for kind of like a tutorial on how to play it. But other than that, this is the TRICKSTARS deck. I've gotten to King of Games, I think, about 10 days into the month, really with minimal effort, just when I had a little bit of time to play. So hope this has been helpful. Definitely play TRICKSTARS, and good luck.